I'm mad, you're mad, we're all mad here.
This is my makeup tutorial on my version of the Mad Hatter. I decided to go with a little bit of the clinical definition of mad and make him slightly insane, because honestly I kind of think he is in the movies. Lovable, but a little bit insane. So I went a little bit darker and a little creepier with this makeup than I've seen others do. I hope you enjoy it. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my other social media sites. Thanks for watching. So first thing I did is I used a 2-part silicone sculpt gel. You mix equal parts of A and B together, and you want to use it soon after mixing it because it'll cure in 5 minutes. I'd never worked with this product before this tutorial, and I have to say it was a lot of fun. It made the seams on the areas that I'd used it on almost flawless. They blended in perfectly. Once I had a spot on my forehead with enough silicone on there, I carved in the 10-6 number. It's usually the tag that's in the Mad Hatter's hat, but I decided to carve it into my forehead instead. I dipped my carving tool into a little bit of isopropyl alcohol that keeps the silicone mixture from sticking to it, and then I just carved out the numbers as I wanted them. Some of the edges got a little flipped up, I guess you could say. They pulled up and they were looking like a little bit of like the top of a Hershey Kiss or something, so I just used the same tool I was using to carve the numbers in with a little more isopropyl alcohol, and I just smoothed it back down to give it the seamless skin look that I wanted. One thing doing that I had to remember is the numbers to me were going to be backwards so that they would read forward for the viewers. I then decided I also wanted a cut on my cheek, so I took a little bit more of the mixture on there. I built this one up a little bit thicker than the one on my forehead because I wanted to be able to pin the edges together with safety pins without running the risk of stabbing myself in the face. Again, use the same methods. Take a smoothing spatula dipped in some isopropyl alcohol and just blend out those edges so that they're as seamless as possible. I just carved the cut in where I wanted it then, smoothed out the edges a little bit more, made sure it had a nice ridge on it to stick my safety pins through later on. If something starts to stick, just wipe off your spatula and add a little more isopropyl alcohol. Then I took a kind of a rough grained sponge dipped in some isopropyl alcohol again, and I just dabbed it over those silicone areas. This gives it a little bit of a skin effect instead of it just being super smooth and shiny, which doesn't look realistic. While I was waiting for that to cure, I decided to do what makeup I could, so I put eyeliner on using an eyeliner pen. Once I had that on both eyes, I just took some black eyeshadow and an eyeliner brush and I smudged it out a little bit. I knew I wanted to blend it into my makeup later on, so I wanted it to be a little softer and not quite as harsh. And I took that same black eyeshadow and the same eyeliner brush and I added a black to my lower lids using the eyeshadow and not an actual eyeliner pencil. At this point, the silicone had set, so I took some translucent setting powder and just dusted it over there. It takes the shine off and it helps when you're adding your makeup to it also. Then I took a white water-based face paint and mixed it with a very light foundation color, and I just took a makeup sponge and dabbed that around my entire face, also over the silicone prosthetics. It wasn't quite blending out in certain areas the way I wanted it to, I think because I had mixed the two different items together. So I took a foundation brush and smoothed out a little bit more. Then I added a layer of translucent setting powder to my whole face. Once I was done with that, I started adding the color into my eyes. I used 3 different colors of eyeshadow. One was a wine red, one was a crimson red, and one was a sunset orange. I started with the crimson red and then I went in with the wine red and blended that up into my lower lash area. Once I had the two reds how I liked them, that's when I added in the sunset orange and just kind of smudged it down a little bit. I wanted to give my eyes a bruised, kind of sunken, mad look. You know, when you watch movies about asylums and people who are stuck in places like that back in the day, they all kind of look strung out and, well, crazy. So I kind of wanted to try and make myself look as close to that as possible. I used the same technique on my upper lids. Started with the wine red this time, then I added in the crimson red and the sunset orange. Same thing, I just kind of blended them out to fade up into the white. Then I took a white eyeshadow and just sort of blended out the edges a little bit more so it wasn't such a harsh line. I did this under the brow bone as well as underneath my eyes. Then I took a little bit more of that black eyeshadow and blended the black line up into the reds. I then decided to color my eyebrows red. While I was doing that, I brushed them the opposite way so they would stand up a little bit crazy. I added a little contouring to my cheekbones using a light and a dark brown, and then I also went over that with the crimson red and kind of blended the three colors together. Crimson red eyeshadow and a fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I just added a little bit of that color around the wound on my cheek just to make it look kind of sore and irritated. Blended out the edges with some white eyeshadow. I did the same thing on my forehead, just a little less concentrated. I decided to add a little black to my eyebrows. I didn't think they were as dark as I wanted them to. I used the same method, combed them backwards so they would stand up a little crazy. At this point I had added kind of a putrid puce yellow color to the wound on my cheek and I wasn't entirely happy with it. So I decided to just let it sit and dry while I added the red blood to the cut on my forehead, and I would figure out what to do with my cheek once I was done. I'm using a tiny detail brush and some blood paste. The blood was a little too red, so I added a mixture of black cream makeup and blood red cream makeup just to give it a little bit of a darker color, make it look a little more realistic and less corny. Once I had that how I liked it, I decided I would move back to the cheek and see what I could do about fixing that glaring awful yellow color. I started by adding a purple cream makeup in the wound, and then I took a red cream makeup and with my fingertip just kind of dabbed it around over the yellow, hoping that would kind of blend it out and make it less fake looking. Then I took a pale ivory powder and a fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I was trying to blend out the red in the edges. I took some more of the yellow water-based paint that I had put on there in the first place, only this time I had it extremely watered down and on my fingertips, and I was dabbing it in that way along with a very pale blue color, and that seemed to kind of give it that infected, sickly wound look that I wanted. So I finally got it blended in how I wanted using the pale blue and the yellow. I added a red cream makeup and some blood paste. And that was basically the look. I threw on my wig, my hat that I had put together, safety pinned my cheek wound to keep it from, falling apart, not healing well, threw in some crazy contacts. And that was the Mad Hatter. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to my channel to see more looks. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.